Hey everybody, and welcome to Stock Abilities. I'm going to be covering the Peloton Recall and just how bearish is it for future outlook. In my opinion, not so much. I think there's some more underlying things that might be the issue, and I'm going to be covering them in this video, so make sure to watch through the whole video to get the whole impact of what I'm saying. Make sure to comment below your own input on the Peloton Recall and what you think the future of it might be. But we're going to hop into it here, but don't forget to subscribe. Essentially, Peloton recalls pedals on 27,000 bikes after reports of injuries. These bikes were sold apparently back in 2013 to 2016. They've since then fixed those problems, but they did receive 120 reports of pedal breakages and 16 reports of injuries. So, depending on who got injured, there might be some more underlying dips in that regard. They had to recall it. It was basically a clip in a bike pedal and the risk of the axle breaking and injuring people. They ended up fixing it and reassessing it, and obviously that problem is no longer an issue. The biggest issue is the upcoming aspect of the fact, is there any other priority problems with the bike? Is there anything that's going to cause problems in the future? I guess we'll find out in that regard. But in regards to the recall number, 27,000 bikes comparatively to how many they've sold is not a whole lot. Now, if this news broke, a little bit earlier on, and then people started to complain back, earlier in the year, we might have seen more volatility on the downside. But Peloton's still very much in a nice uptrend. The problem with companies like Peloton and companies like GoPro and Weight Watchers and things like that, they're kind of a one trick pony. Their bikes are expensive, and they do offer a benefit for this market here, and they have a lot of subscribers to their fitness programs, things like that. But the problem is that they're a one trick pony. The recalls are much smaller than what Toyota experienced with 1.7 million vehicle recalls. Obviously they're not a vehicle, but the comparison of recalls, 27,000 recalls is still quite a lot. But in regards to impact on the stock price, not so much. Now, if they receive a more massive recall for some other problem, they can drop quite significantly. They did take a big hit in the last day or so from that news, with a little bit of a peak here and a little bit of a peaking here. And Thursday news kind of came out. They were kind of determining, is this bearish or bullish? How bad is it? They took a little bit of a dip, then the market kind of ran up. So it did get kind of pushed up with the market. And then, of course, with the market being sideways today, Peloton just collapsed from that news from yesterday. And it kind of hit a bottom here in the 129 ish, maybe a little bit lower. Google charts aren't exactly the most reliable in this. But the scenario being is that in a week to week, month to month, multi month, Peloton's still very much in an uptrend. The problem with companies like this is they follow the trend of companies like Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers had a nice kind of flow going. It's not that Weight Watchers is a bad company. It's the fact that a lot of people can easily reproduce what they're offering. And in Weight Watchers' case, they were offering basically a meal kit service. With pandemic stuff, everybody else is going to be offering that too. And as it got more popularized in 2019, it kind of faded. And then 2020 got some hype, and then people are like, well, wait a second, there's a lot of other companies that do this. So Weight Watchers is just not that ultimately unique of a market share opportunity anymore, so it collapsed. These are considered one trick ponies. They don't really have a long term prospective value because they've sold so much, and then trying to, beat that guidance into the future is going to be near impossible. GoPro, just another example here. GoPro had a unique tech. The problem is that it should have never IPO because it's a one trick pony. It's not that unique to the market. It was when it first came out, hence the buzz. But then you're thinking, well, now what's it going to do? Is it going to do other cameras? Is it going to do more advanced, exciting kind of stuff? What does it have for the future? What makes it unique anymore? And in GoPro's case, not a whole lot. Peloton, I believe, can, drag it out maybe a little bit longer. I would say that they're going to have a little bit of a rise to the anticipation for holiday sales. Everyone's going to be excited. But into the next year, especially if pandemic stuff starts to fade, people are going to say, well, I can go to the gym again, or I can do this, or I can do that. And then people are going to go and maybe even try to attempt to return bikes and things like that because they're no longer going to need them because the pandemic would be basically over. So, what would be the valuation from Peloton in a longer term scenario? Right now it's trading at a kind of an obscene value when they really don't make that much profit. They are, they're a decent company, they're a stable company, but the guidance is just going to get worse and worse and worse into the years to come. You know, they IPO'd basically back in 2019, and although they were making decent profits, they weren't really moving much. The only time that Peloton started to move is during the pandemic. Everybody's at home buying bikes, things like that. Guidance is super high. Guidance continuing into the rest of the year is super high. But what will it do into 2021 is the big question. And, in my opinion, the Peloton it can drop below $100 a share or even $80 a share, just like Weight Watchers. A lot of people were excited about Weight Watchers. It hit over $100 a share. And then since that point, it faded quite drastically. I would say that Peloton could be as low as $50 to $60 a share just next year because it's a one trick pony. There isn't any real future for it. Not saying that the company's going to go bankrupt or anything like that, but the valuation it has at billions of dollars, I don't think it's really worth it. I don't see the future of Peloton continuing up. I mean, are they going to get into EV? Are they going to get into something else? If they started to branch out into more, more essentially different things, maybe they might have more market cap value. But as a essentially one thing that they do is fitness. They don't really branch out beyond that. There isn't anything inherently unique beyond that point of fitness. You're going to have Amazon and Apple and all these other ones offering fitness programs. They already do, and they're going to branch out more and more in that regard, which means that Peloton's going to lose more and more market share. See, Amazon and Apple do a bunch of different things. Peloton just does one thing. So keep that in mind when you are investing into Peloton. And thanks for listening in, guys. Make sure to comment below your own input on Peloton, what you think it might do for the future. I'm personally bearish, but you never know. I think it's going to trend up maybe just a little bit more. I don't think this recall is going to impact it all that much. Right now, it did impact it a little bit, but overall, it's still in a nice uptrend. I would say that we could see 150s before the end of the year potentially, before I'd want to consider puts on it. But I do see it below 100 by early next year. And sweeps when I was looking at them last reflected a 95 to 100 range. That's kind of a nice baseline here. I don't think it's going to go all the way down to the 30s to 40s. It could, but I think it's going to take a little bit longer than that because Peloton is still, quite a profitable company. It's not so much with GoPro and Weight Watchers, but the problem is the markets are all about future guidance. So keep that in mind, guys. Thanks for listening in and have a great day.